ever thought of creating your own NPM package? Maybe you have a bunch of functionality that you think people should benefit from. Now, it might be scary, but I can assure you that creating your own NPM package is not so difficult. This video would help us to understand how we can create our own NPM package. It will also go from beginners to a little advanced, so you can see how you can create a basic NPM package and how you can bundle your NPM package better so that it has better compatibility with more applications. So the first thing you need to do, of course, is you need to go to npm and create an account. I've already created an account. You might have to create an account and set up your two-factor authentication, stuff like that, and then you can now have access to being able to upload your own package, stuff like that. So here I'm already logged in, and so you can set up yours like that. And then we'll now move over to writing a bit of code and then pushing it up to our account there on npm. So I've already created a folder, npm package dot, and so we'll be working here in the terminal. So the first thing we need to do is to set up the project. And so the first thing is to initialize our project with npm, like you would have done when you're creating your project normally. So we do an npm and init. Now once you add your -y, it's going to create an npm package for you immediately. But I don't just want this package to be created with a regular name. I want to give it a namespace. And why do I want to give it a namespace? Now when you come to npm packages like this, let's say I type something like summary. Now you notice that we already have a package called summary here, right? And so for other ones, you might have to add something like summary collect, summary bot, and stuff like that. What I want to do is to make sure I can still use the name I want, but then for me to make sure I use that name, I need to add a namespace. And so that namespace would most likely be my username, or just look for a particular way to namespace it, right? So for us to do that, we'll come here and add scope dash scope like this. Scope, let's make sure I spell that correctly. Scope equal to, and then we can add the namespace at this point. So we want it to be plenty, so plenty like this, and then let's hit enter, and that should create our package.json with a namespace for us. Now you can just come and type this in here, but I decided to do everything from the terminal and it was straightforward. Now this is not a requirement, but it makes sense when you can namespace and not have to bother yourself about if this particular package name is available. Okay, we are now creating the index.js file, which is the main file that we want to work on. And then inside of it, let's quickly create a function like so, give it a name, and so the name is greet like this, and and it takes in a parameter called name. Stop making mistakes. Okay, now inside of here we want to return, let's return that greeting. So the greeting will be something like, let's do a hello. Make sure I do that correctly. So let's do a hello. Let's use backtips like this. Hello, and then the name like so. So name like this, and then we make sure we export it. So we do module.export like so, and say we're exporting the greet function, right? So like this, and that is all you really need here. So we've created a basic function. Of course, yours can be more, would I say, complicated or more advanced than this, but we are focusing on pushing this to npm and using it somewhere else. Now for us to make this available to other projects from our local projects here, what we need to do is come to the terminal and do an npm link. So once you do an npm link, it makes it available to other projects from this place locally. All right, now for us to test what we have done, let's open a new project. All right, so let's push this aside and open a new project. So let's cd into desktop. We will quickly create a test project. So let's make dir like this, and we do npm test, stuff like that. Now you don't need this process per se, but it's of course good for you to test before you push to to npm so that you are sure that this thing is working fine. All right, so we do an npm test, and so let's open this project by the side. So we do a code like so, npm test, it opens. Let's move it to the side and push it a little bit like so. Let's bring this probably to the middle, something like this. Now inside of this project, let's create its own index.js file like this. And now inside of here, we want to import or require what we have created here. So we'll be requiring the name of this project like this. So let's copy that, and then let's do a const greet. It's a greet function. That's what we want to do. And so let's do a require like so. So this require open and then pass this in. So now that we have access to the greet function, so let's come down and say greet. Let's call the function like so, and let's use a console.log like so, and then let's call the greet function inside of it, and of course pass in a name. All right, when we save this will not work because we have not installed the package. So for us to install the package, let's open the terminal and do an npm link, then the name of the package. Recall that we are not installing this yet from npm. We are installing it from our local package or our local project here, and that's why we're using npm link instead of npm install. All right, so let's hit enter, and this should locally install the package for us. So if it was npm install, you see node modules here. This is npm link, so we are doing everything locally. All right, so we just give it a moment for it to complete its installation, and then we'll now run the project using node index. So it's done, and what we need to do now, let's clear this, and then let's do a node index and hit enter. Now notice that it tells us hello Njoku here, and let's say there's nothing here, we don't pass anything, and we'll try the node index, so it tells us just hello without a name. So that shows that this is working. Our npm package works just fine. So now that we have been able to set it up and we've tested that it's working, so what we need to do next is to publish it. Now for us to publish it, of course, you need to already have an account like I pointed out in the beginning. So come back to the main project here and do an npm publish. So an npm publish would now publish our project for us. So it starts the process immediately and tells us publishing, but it requires that we authenticate ourselves. So let's authenticate ourselves. So like I told you, I already have everything set up. So I have my security key set up, and so what I need to do is tell it to use my security key like so. Of course I use my security key, and this should navigate me and authenticate me properly, so I can close this off, and inside of here it's already working. Now it say you must sign up for private packages. Now the problem here is because I'm using a namespace package, because it starts with @plenty. Now if it was just the regular name, it wouldn't ask for this, so I need to specifically tell it that the access is public. So let me go again, npm publish, and then I will now do an access like so and say access is public. So we go again, so public, make sure this is, let me make sure you're seeing everything completely. So npm publish access public, so hit it again and it reroutes the same thing. So we're also going to authenticate again, so let's try it again, and then let's use our security key like so. It's authenticating. Once it's done authenticating, then what's the problem this time around? It say you are also store from let's check that. So the problem is I mixed up my username, so it's supposed to be Ebere Plenty and not just Plenty. So let's go back and of course rename what we have done here. So it has to be Ebere Plenty slash npm package store. So it's telling me that this is not in my workspace or user space settings, so I just add it and make sure I save it. So once I'm done saving it like this, I can try again. So let me clear off everything, and this should work this time around. So we do an npm publish, make the access public, and hit like so. And then of course it asks me to authenticate, so let me do the authentication again. It always asks for this authentication. This is just for security purpose. All right, so um, let me authenticate, and it's working. So let's see this time around. This should work, and yes, it has been added. Notice that there's a plus sign, and of course I've received an email already showing that this worked. Now to make sure that I am seeing this, so let me do a very plenty, and so look at the package here, a very plenty slash npm package dot. So once I hit it, it should open it for us, and then we should have access to it. All right, so let's open this. Great. So there's no readme file, so here will be none. And of course I didn't set up like the home page, the github, so you wouldn't see those details here. If I had set those up, you would have seen them. Now here in the code, this is where everything we've written is. And when you open the index.js file here, you will see the grid function that we have created right here. So which shows that everything is working and everything is transparent. This is our um, package.json file that we have created. It's loading up. Now, if we had created a README file and then publish, then you will have seen details of the README here. It would just be like your normal GitHub README. All right. So but yeah, good. So this has opened up. So let me just zoom in so that you see what's here. So everything here is just exactly what we've set up. All right, and that is the simplest way you can create an npm package for you and for other people to be able to use. All right. Okay. So we've been able to create a basic npm package, but here's the problem with the package we've just created. It is created with the regular JavaScript. Um, it may not be compatible with some projects at the long run. So it's important that we give other projects different versions of JavaScript for them to choose what is most compatible for their own projects. So what we need to do is to transpile or rebundle our project in such a way that it can be accessible from in different versions. And how do we do this when we want to build something sophisticated, something on TypeScript, stuff like that? So our project here, clear the terminal first of all, and then let's clear everything too. Oh, okay, let's clear this. Let's delete this. We'll come back to it again. So move to trash, and for this, let's start from this. So we've created an npm package, but this time around we want to be able to transpile what we do into different formats like CommonJS and ESM, that's ECMAScript, for us to make our project more robust, more compatible. So the first thing we need to do is to install. So let's do an npm install. We want to use TypeScript, and so we want to do it global, and so say type script like so. Hit enter. That should install TypeScript for us. And once that is done, next thing we want to do is npm install. This time around, this is going to be a development dependency. So we're installing TypeScript again for development. So TypeScript like so. And I want to install a second package called tsup. Tsup will help us to bundle our package or our project, and then make it accessible to other project that will install it in different formats. So tsup like so. And so let's install that. So that begins installation for us. We can just bring this a little bit downwards, and then we now want to make some adjustments to the way this files will be accessed. So the first thing we want to set up here is the dist folder. So when we bundle our folder finally, or our project finally, you see a dist folder here. So inside of here, I want to do a dist slash index like so. Okay, let's make sure that that starts with a dot slash like so. And then the second one we want to do will be module. So change this to module like so. And then instead of index.js, it becomes index.mjs. Then the third thing is the type. We want to set up a type here. So we do type like so. And then we do equal to. So this should not be type, should be types. All right. So we do dist like so slash index dot d.ts. So this file will keep track of all the type that we use, just in case maybe a user want to reference to the type that we referenced, building the project, stuff like that. That's it basically. Other things that you can add here is the author, which is me, of course. So I can just put Njoku here. Doesn't really matter. I can add keyword here, and can be greet, stuff like that. Can be hello, because that's what we are working on. Now this can basically be anything that we choose it to be. Now, another important thing we need to do here is to set up scripts. So, of course, you can name this anything. So, we can name this build, we can name it bundle, stuff like that. And then we now say tsup. And then we now direct tsup to the file that we want it to transpile. So, the file will be inside of the source directory, and the file is index.ts. All right? Okay. So, let's make sure we save that. Okay, and that should be it for our package.json. So from here, you should already know that we'll be creating a source folder inside of which everything would be inside, and then we'll be doing a setup that will help basically bundle and some rules that our project has to follow, stuff like that. You'll be seeing this in a bit. So first things first, let's create a folder called source src like so, and inside of this folder, let's create the index.ts file like this. Now, if we are going to be using TypeScript, we need to set up a TypeScript configuration. So we do what's called tsconfig. Make sure you spell this correctly so that everything works well. tsconfig.json like so. And then I have some setup that I already have. So I'll just copy that and paste it inside like so. All right, make sure you format that so that it looks good. Save it. Now for the tsup, to help the tsup do the bundling the right way, we also have to set up a configuration. So tsup like so .config. So this is not tsup config, but tsup.config, and now .ts. All right. So I also have configurations for it that are already set up, and so let me just copy and paste it in. Now you can choose to check this out on your own. What we are really concerned here is that we're including the source directory, and then we're excluding the node modules. We're also concerned about the output directory, which is the dist. We are here also concerned about the target, which is ES 2022 and stuff. You can make changes to all this as you see fit. All right. Now for the tsup, we are bundling to the CJS format and the ESM format, which is CommonJS, and then ESM format, which is the ECMAScript, and then the entry file is the source index.ts file, basically telling it that this is the file we want you to bundle for us, and these are the formats we want it to change. You don't really need to bother much about these configurations. Just know that once you have them set up, then you're good to go. All right. Now, something else we want to add that we didn't add in the former one is the readme.md file. All right. So the readme.md file is where we can enter details about our project. I'm not going to be entering much details here, but let me just put a grid project or grid package project, not bad. All right, so something like that. So let's make sure this is well done. Let's save that and let's close the preview. All right, let's close all of this. So we'll no longer be needing any of these. Okay, so let's come back to the index.ts file. We could choose to write our code inside of here and export it, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't look cool. So what we want to do is to write our functions in other files and then export it from this one. All right. So let's come here and create a file. Maybe we'll call this help us like so .ts, and then we can set up our types in another file, like say types.ts like so. All right. So inside of the helpers function, we want to you can create as many functions here as you want, and then of course do the export, but that's not what we want to do here. We want to create just one file, one function, and then export it. All right. So let's do that immediately. Okay. So let's do that. So the function I want to create is the same function we created the first time. So let's do an export. We want to export this function like so, and then it's a greet function like we did the last time. And inside of here, of course we set up let's use just the name, all right, and then it's going to be a type of string. Okay, and inside of here, let's return and say hello, just as we did the last time. Hello, and then name, like so. Now this works perfectly. If you choose, you can set up these types inside of this type here, and it will still work. And all you need to do is just import it, stuff like that. So let's save this and then come here and import. Let's import from helpers. What we're importing is the greet function, like so. So after importing it, what we need to do next is to export. Let's export it like so. So let's export greet. We can make it an export default, stuff like that, and it's going to work fine for us. Or we could also choose to just export. So for example, you can make this export default like so, and it's going to export this greet function. But let's say we have more than one function inside of there. How do we have access to all of it? So what we can do is to export asterisk from, all right, and now where we're exporting it from is from helpers. This can also be true if we are exporting, say, types. So let's say we want to export types. We can export from, and we're exporting from types. So there is, this is supposed to be types, please. Types. All right, I think so the TS. So let me be sure what the problem is. Types. Source types of TS is not a module. Okay, let's save that, and then let's come here and make sure that there's something inside of this file. So we can choose to just do an export type, and we can say greet props, stuff like that, and then set it equal to, and we can just say something like name equal to string here. We could also add age if we choose, and say age is number. So now that we have something to export, the error is gone. So what it means now is when tsup comes to our index.ts file inside of the source folder, what it will now do is go through each of these files and transpile those functions. When it transpiles the function, it bundles them into one file, and then we can now export it or give it to our users. So now that we have gotten this far, we can also test if what we have done is working fine. So just to be sure that it's working fine, so let's just go through what we've done so far. So first of all, we set up the types, the main and the module here, and then we installed some dependencies, which is TypeScript and tsup inside of here, and save that. Then we set up some configuration for tsup, the config.ts. Then inside of the ts config.json, we set up few configurations too. Then we use the index.ts file to export everything that we have done so far. To test it, let's do what we've done before. So we go and say npm link. So this should be npm link. Now before we do that, by the way, we need to bundle our files. Remember what we have done before. We need to bundle our file. So we do an npm run build. This is the script we are running here, which is build. Now remember that this can be anything. I can change this to tsup and it should still work. All right, so let's build and hit enter. Now this starts transpiling for us and creates the dist folder for us. Now when you check inside of the dist folder, we now have the index.js file, which is more like the common JS file. We also have this one, which is like the ECMAScript script. We have the d.ts file, and we have the m.ts file, stuff like that. We have everything basically that any project would need. So at this point, we want to link. All right, so let's do npm link, like so. Now this, of course, you know what it does. It helps us to make our project available for other projects that we want to use. So let's open our test folder, npm test. Yeah, good. So we've used this initially, so let's do the same thing. Basically, we are doing the same thing that we've done before. But you know what? So that there's no confusion, let's create a different folder for this test that we want to do now. So let's do a cd into desktop, and so we do npm ts up tests. We just want to make sure that what we did is working correctly. So this should be make dir. We're making a folder here, make dir space, and next thing we want to do is to open this up in VS Code, so we have it all opened up like so. So let's push it to the side like this. Great. And inside of here we want to create an index.ts, not necessarily ts, we can use a JS file. Remember that this has been transpiled, and so whatever I want to do here will work. All right, now let's close this off, and then let's just what we did before. We want to require this package. So let's copy this, and so let's say const greet, okay, greet equal to require. Now instead of require, we put in the package. All right, now we can choose to log this to the console so that you see what's going on here. So let's log this to the console. Great. Now if we run this for now, it's going to give us an error, but what we want to do at this point is to install locally what we have exported. So we've done an npm link here, so this time around let's do an npm link and then the package we want to link, and then it does this installation for us. Remember, this is being done locally, so you don't have to bother if node modules folder shows here. Node modules folder will show when we install it directly from npm, but for now we are doing this installation locally. All right, so we don't have to bother ourselves about that. All right, so let's just give it a moment. It's going to be done installing in a bit, and remember that we now have access to different formats of file. And so let's run our index node index, hit enter, and then you notice that inside of it has a greeter function. All right, so let's destructure what we have here and then call on this greet function like so, and enter Njoku like this, save it, and then let's call this function again, and so you see hello Njoku. Now when I change this to maybe Ebere, save it, run it again, you see we have hello Ebere. Now what's going on is that, if you recall clearly, we have already exported everything from here, that's index.ts. So as it is, all we needed to do was to destructure what we have here in the helpers, and everything was working fine. So this means everything is working fine, and so the next thing we need to do is to push up. We want to push this up, we want to publish it to npm. All right, so let's close this too. Now before we publish, we want to make sure we set up a few things. Now for this publishing, we don't need most of the things you are seeing here. Basically what we need to push up here is the dist folder, the readme folder, and the package.json folder. That's basically what we need. So for this reason, I'll just I'll just put in a new file here, which is npm ignore. So paste it here, npm ignore. So you notice that it ignores the source folder, the node modules folder, the .env folder if we have any, ds stuff if we have any, ts config and tsup config. You know, all these are no longer needed. What we really need is just this file that have been transpiled for us, and of course we need the readme now to show what's going on, or then description that we give to it. All right, now this is similar to the git ignore file too, but the difference is npm ignore is for when we are publishing to npm, while git ignore is for when we are publishing to or pushing to git. All right, so let's get that correctly. And now we are ready to publish. You can check details of this npm ignore anytime. All right, we're ready to publish. So for us, so let me, okay, good. Now that we're ready to publish, what we now need to do is npm publish. Now do not forget that inside of our package.json, we are still using a namespace. So because we are using a namespace, we want to make sure that we set the access. We are setting the access to public. Access equal to public. access equal to public, and now we can now hit enter. And of course, we need to authenticate, so let's go authenticate ourselves as usual. All right, so let's do the authentication. It's authenticating for us now. The verification is complete and we are back to the terminal. It's working, and then we should be done in a bit. So what's the problem this time around? You say cannot publish previously published version 1.0. We initially changed, we deleted this, but notwithstanding, let's just change the name here to thoughts. We can change this to tutorial. All right, and then save it. This should work this time around. So let's do the same publishing again, and of course we are requested to authenticate. Follow the same pattern, and then let's authenticate it. Great. Now this is authenticated and this is working, and this should be done in a bit. Great. This has been added to us, and I've received an email already. So immediately it's added, you receive an email, and that's great, showing that this worked. All right, so let's check it out. A better plenty. Now it's there already, npm package tutorial, and it's open. So let me make this full screen. Now notice that this time around we have more details. We have the readme file showing grit package project. Of course, every detail you enter will show down here, just as it will be if we were to push this into a GitHub repository. All right, and then here are the keywords that would help in searching. But let's look into the code this time around. So the code this time around is giving us just three things: the dist folder, the readme file, and the package.json file. Wow. All right, now inside of the dist folder we have the 4 files that we have pushed over for npm to use in pushing this project to every other person that would need it. So if we were to install this locally, this will still work perfectly. All right, okay, so that is it, and that's how we publish projects or packages to npm. Once you do this, your package is available for use by other people. So just to make sure that this is working, let's install this locally. For us to do this, let's open our test folder, this tsup one. All right, now we want to make sure that we unlink what we did before. Notice that there's no node modules folder here, right? So let's do an npm unlink. We are unlinking this so that it no longer has access to the locally published one. All right, so npm unlink this, so it will unlink it for us. It's no longer available. We can also do an npm unlink here, npm unlink here, and it's of course must provide a package name to remove. Well, this doesn't really matter, but we can do just what we've done here. All right, so we've already unlinked it here, and that's fine. So now that we have unlinked it, this is not going to work as before. So so let's try a node index, hit enter, and you notice that we are running into error, cannot find this module. All right, so which means let's now install, which means that if we install this now, it should work. So npm install thoughts will not work fine for us because we've changed the name. So let's make it like this, npm package tutorial, like so. So let's make it tutorial, like so, npm package tutorial. So hit enter. This should install for us, like every other package that we are used to. And this time around we should have access to the npm package. So let's check this and check what's going on here. Okay, so the mistake we did here is not setting up or initializing our project first of all. So if we come and do a node index, we should still run into an error because it didn't install. So the first thing we want to do here is do an npm init-y, hit enter, and this should create a package.json file for us. So now we can now install what we installed before. So let's do this installation. I notice that we now have the node modules folder, and of course this installation is happening. It should be done in a minute, and then we should have all of it inside of our package.json file, just as it would have been if this was every other package that we have on npm. Basically everything we really need. Okay, so now that we have this, if you open inside of our dependencies, you should see a very plenty /package /tutorial or -beta. Okay, so let's clear our terminal again, go back to here and make sure that we have the right package. being imported. Okay. You can also check out the modules, node modules here, and then you see the at plenty, and then when you open, you can see the under folder inside npm package tutorial, and inside of it the dist folder and stuff like that. All right, just to make sure that this is working. So let's make sure we save this, and then let's do a node index this time around, and notice that it's working. Hello Ebere. We could change this to plenty. All right, save this and then try again. Hello plenty. So this means this is working fine and just the way we love it, and that is it. This is how you can create your own package and make it available for other people to use. Okay, thank you. How do we create an npm package for React projects only? I've shown you how to create npm packages normally, but there are specifics for these frameworks when it comes to React framework, Next.js, and Vue.js. Now, always know that any project that is React, any package that is a React package can work on Next.js, so you don't have to bother creating a particular package for Next.js. So what I'll be teaching you in this part is how you can create a package that is React specific. All right, so let's hit the road. So first thing we want to do is to create a React project. So we are using Vite, so npm create Vite at latest. That's what we're doing here. And so we want to create React pack. Let me do that correctly. Pack Pro. Yeah, I'm just using a random name, and I'm going to be using TypeScript. So we are using React TypeScript. All right, and then next thing I want to do is to open this in my VS Code. So code, VS Code, the name of the project, and it opens automatically on VS Code. All right. Now let me move this a little bit to the side. Let it take half of the screen. Let this one take half. Okay, something like that. Doesn't really matter. Now, just in case you don't have any idea of how to create a package, this should not be so difficult for you to follow. But if you feel this is a bit too fast, you can check out my previous videos. I will also make sure to link them down below if it's a separate video. All right. So the first thing we have to do here is to install tsup. Tsup is used for doing the transpiling. So we are writing this in TypeScript. So we might need this in CommonJS, or might need this in ECMAJS. So first things first, npm install, and this should be a development dependency tsup, like so, and hit enter. That should start the installation for us. So while the installation is happening, we need to work on our package.json file. So the first thing we want to work on our package.json file is we want to change this private to false. We want it to be public, please. And then we'll just leave the name here, but remember that you can do a namespace, so you can add something like at your username slash pack react pack pro. But you know what, let me just add the namespace, so it's at ebere plenty slash. All right, so ebere plenty, this is my username, as you can see here. So let me save that, and then let's come down a little bit here, and then we want to create the files that should be accessed, and one is the types. The types would help us access the type props, and then we now have the main, which is the main file that should be accessed by the package. All right, so I'll just put that in here. Now you might have noticed that in the previous packages we created, we added a module key. It is not necessary for what we are creating here, and you'll see that in a bit. All right, so the next thing we want to do is to add a script for tsup. So we just put it like this, and notice that previously we used build. This time around we're using bundle because we already have build here. This can be anything we choose to. Just make sure you remember it when you want to run the script. All right, now another thing we can choose to add is the author and the license. We can choose to also add keywords. So keywords like so, and this is an array of strings, so we can do hello, we can do a greet like so, you know, just anything you choose to add. We can add many other things like homepage. Now homepage will be the link to what's the name, to maybe like our maybe let's say you have a documentation or stuff like that, okay, or a website, something like that. We can have a git repository like so, so something like GitHub, So it should be git. I think I'm not getting that right. So GitHub, something like this, GitHub, okay. And then we set that to be equal to an object and set a URL inside like so. And the URL can be anything too. But usually people will put in their GitHub URL and stuff like that. Content of the file is newer, compare and rewrite. Okay. So here's the thing. When we did the installation, we, well, let me just overwrite and save. I think I'll have to redo the installation I've done before. So let me install the tsup again. Because I made some edits to it, so it didn't show up properly. But we are now good. So we now have the tsup 8.0.2 here. Okay, so now that we have that, the next thing we want to add is the git ignore, sorry, npm ignore. We're ignoring almost everything here. The only thing that we'll be going with or we'll be pushing up is just the package.json and then the dist folder that will be created. We are ignoring the source folder, the node modules, the public, the ESLint was the name configuration, the .env ds store, and all these file configurations. They are only needed while we are developing, but for the proper use in other projects, they are not necessary, and so that's why we are ignoring them. There's already the git ignore, so something else we want to add now is the tsup. Yes, tsup config, tsup.config, by the way, and you can just copy this. There's nothing much you need to know here, but just be concerned about the formats. We are changing this. We are transpiling to two formats. One is the common.js and the second one is the ECMAScript. Then the file that is to be transpiled is the index.tsx file. Now, if you want other files to be transpiled in like manner, you also indicate them here, but we don't need them because what we want to do is to create all the functionalities we want in different files and then push them into this index.ts file and then export them. So when the transpiling time comes, what happens is that tsup goes into this file, it transpiles everything inside of the file, and uses the link to go into each of those files, transpile them, bundle them in one file, and then give us what we asked for in just one file. So what else do we need? We already have the ts config.json, we have the tsup.config.ts, which means everything is set. I think we are ready to go into the source directory. We have not created this index.ts file, so that's the first thing we need to create here. So index.ts file and save that. Recall that we said that everything will pass through this index.ts file. So anything that doesn't pass through this index.ts file will not be transpiled. So what we want to do is to create a component here and then create a greet function or a greet component like so, greet.tsx like so, and we'll just create a simple greet function. I'm sure you can create something even more complex or stuff, but what we are focused on is how to create a package for React. What we are doing is everything you already know in React, all right? So I'm not going to waste so much time. That's why I'm a bit speeding things up. So we have the greet function. It comes with a type of name, a props of name with a type of string, stuff like that. And so for us to test this out, let's start our development server. So let's clear this off and then let's do an npm run dev and hit enter. This should start for us our development server like so. So it's open here and it's working, right? So let's clear off what's inside of the app.tsx to make sure that the greet stuff is working. So let's get rid of it like so. And so inside of here, we want to call the greet function. And of course, we want to make sure that we're passing the name like so. So if we do not pass the name, you should just tell us hello. So we pass in an empty string, save it, and so we have hello here. Now, if we pass in a name like my name, Njoku, you see hello Njoku, which means this is working. You can choose to test this extensively by doing an npm link to set up the package locally and then get it in another project, and do all the stuff. We've done that in our previous project or previous video, so you can check that out too. But what I'm doing is to push this straight to npm. So before we do the push, the first thing we want to do is to do an npm run bundle. So this will do the transpiling for us. So let's get our package.json file. Let's open it so that you see what's going on, just in case you didn't follow up. So the package.json file shows the script bundle here. So it does the tsup, and inside of the source, it transpiles the index.ts file. So as soon as the transpiling starts happening, you see a dist folder here. So let's hit npm run bundle, create enter, and it creates the dist folder for us with all the necessary files. So there's the common JS file. Sorry, there's the common JS file. There's the index.js file. There's the index.d.tsx file. And there's the index.d.cts file. And you notice that it is currently empty because we have not exported any function inside of the index.ts file. So let's go back inside of the source file, and inside here we do the index.ts file. So what we want to do first of all is to import. We want to import from components. We want to import from the grid file, of course. Okay, so from the grid file. Okay, and then what we are importing from there is grids. Okay, so that is it. Now, as we have imported it, we also want to export it. So we export like so. We could also choose to just make this an export default, which works fine for us. But we are also checking a case whereby there are multiple files here. So if there are multiple files, you want to do an export and put it inside of like a curly brace, like we've done here or stuff. This can just go any way you wish. These are regular JavaScript. What we are concerned about is publishing this. So let's do this bundle again. So let's do npm run bundle. This time around, we should now have our file well populated. So this is the ECMAScript script one. This is the CommonJS one. And this is for our typing. So for example, we have the grids and it has a props of name with type or string and stuff like that. So we have all this well set up for us and we don't have to bother anymore. So now that we have everything set up, let's publish this to npm. So let's clear and do an npm publish like so. Npm publish. Back in our package.json file, remember that we added a namespace here at plenty. So remember that I'll have to change the access, because by default it's going to be private. So we want to change the access to public. Yeah, so access public, hit enter. It starts the work for us. Do not forget that we have to authenticate. So let's open this and authenticate. Okay, great. So let's authenticate this, and this should be done in a minute. Now our authentication is done. Back in our terminal, everything is complete, and so we now have this plenty / react pack pro. We can check this out here, and we have, let's open plenty. Okay, and we have react pack pro like so. Great. So once it opens now, let's make it full screen so that you see what we're talking about. Now, initially we didn't set up many things in the readme of the previous ones we did, but this just shows you how the readme will show. This is just the readme from Vite that we're given, but pay close attention to the code. Notice that only the things we send down here are the dist folder, the readme folder, and the package.json folder, which will be used in other projects. And when you open here, it has the same code but in different formats. So when this is given to different kinds of code, different kind of project, depending on the project, whether it's JavaScript, TypeScript, or whatsoever, you'll see that this will work well without throwing any error. All right. Now that we have this set up, to make sure that we test this and this is working, let's create a new project. Now this project we're going to create is also another React project, but it's just for testing what we have done so far. All right. So this would start in a minute. We'll also create this in JavaScript format so that you see that this doesn't have to be a TypeScript project anymore. It can just be anything that we wish it to be, whether a TypeScript project, whether an SWC project, or stuff like that. All right. So this will start in a bit. Let me restart this. Let's go again. So my reception was a bit poor. So what we are doing now is just React pack pro test. So React and JavaScript. I just want to be able to demonstrate to you that this works, whether it's TypeScript or not TypeScript. Like we did the former time. Let's open this up in VS Code. All right. So, and make sure we move it to the side like so. So first things first, we want to do an npm install to install the packages. All right. Now once the packages are done installing, then we'll now install this one that we have created now, and we'll show this inside of our app and show how it works when we do it. So we can just open a new terminal here, and then do the installation. So npm I plenty slash React Pack Pro. So this installation is done, and so we are here in the second one. This second one too is done, which means we now have this. So if you open node modules and you scroll down, we should have it at plenty somewhere here. Good. And inside of this we have the React Pack Pro, and we have the this folder, and we have everything we need. So now let's move into the app.jsx file, and we just make one change. So before I make that change, let's make sure we have our development server running. So let's open this up. So everything is working fine, right? So we'll close this down. And all we want to change is this Vite and React. So let's leave everything working the way it is. So let's open the grid. So once we try to do the grid, it will automatically import it for us. So it has been automatically imported. And notice it's importing it from a very plenty slash React slash hyphen pack hyphen pro. All right. Now close this off. Now if you save this, it should tell you just hello, which is what we wanted, right? Now if we add in a name, so if we add in a name now, say something like Vite React, save it, it changes to hello Vite React. We could choose to add a plus that was here initially, and everything is working perfectly. And that is it. This is how you create your own React package, and of course share your code with others, share the functionality with others. Thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you very much for the support I've been getting all this while. Please keep subscribing to my channel, like this video, share with everyone you think this will be helpful, share it on social media. This will make me create more. Thank you very much. I'll see you in my next video.